What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, back with another week 2 preview, man. We dropped some yesterday, got one this morning, got one coming later this afternoon as well. So make sure to check all those out. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Join the Bluebloods, man. Nobody's delivering college football content like the Bluebloods anywhere on YouTube. So make sure to do that. But we got an interesting non-conference matchup between two teams that I think the potential is there for them both to do something big in their conference. And, it's going to go down in prime time in Fayetteville, 6 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. We got the number 15 Texas Longhorns traveling to Razorback Stadium to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. And right now, according to the spread, as I'm recording, a 7-point favorite are the Longhorns right now. So a lot of people had, increased expectations for both of their teams, and this could be a large stepping stone win for both of these programs to move throughout their 2021 season. Now, for storylines coming into the game, they're a little different for both programs. You look at Texas, they made a big statement last weekend with a huge win over Louisiana Lafayette, in which a lot of people were possibly expecting an upset, especially after how well, Louisiana Lafayette played last year. They upset Iowa State to kick off the season last year. First-year head coach, first-year starting quarterback in Hudson Card. The Longhorns pulled it off, got a big win, and it impressed myself. I was so impressed with what Texas did last weekend, and a lot of the media and fans surrounding this program were very impressed because, like I said, the Raging Cajuns were a popular upset pick. So Texas made a statement last weekend with a big win. If they can get this win on the road in week 2, that is 2 huge wins you can clip onto Texas's resume right now. And Arkansas came into the season with some underdog expectations in the SEC. Now, no one was expecting them to win, but they were thinking, man, maybe they could be 3rd, 4th in the SEC West and really exceed the recent expectations, especially as they were under Chad Morris at one of their all-time lows. Sam, but they had a Rice. They overcame a 10-point second half deficit to pull out a 38-17 win, and experts are kind of wondering what to think about the Razorbacks after a very, very tough week 1 game against Rice. KJ Jefferson did not look great in the first half. The defense was kind of sloppy, but in the second half, they scored on, I believe, 5 of their next 6 drives, and also forced 3 huge interceptions for Rice to pull that game out. So that's where we're sitting with storylines for these two teams. And so for me, let's get into the keys for Texas to win this game. And, I previewed, if you're a Texas fan returning, man, glad y'all are back. But we previewed the Louisiana Lafayette Texas game last week. And I'm going to be honest, don't change anything. The key is exactly the same until someone proves me otherwise. And it's going to be feed Bijan Robinson, feed him again, and right when you think he's had enough, feed him one more time because he should be the focal point of this Longhorns team for as long as nobody in the country can stop him. I mean, he kicked off the 2021 season right where he left off the 2020 season, and that's in a dominant fashion. He carried this Texas team to a huge week 1 win, and without him, that game's either much, much closer or Texas gets upset. He had 103 rushing yards, 73 receiving yards, and 2 big touchdowns. He is going to be the focal point of this offense because nobody in the country can seem to stop him ever. And I don't even think anyone can argue Robinson isn't a top 3 running back in the country. And for me, I think he claimed the throne as the best running back in the Big 12 right now. I know Deuce Vaughn at K-State's doing some great things. Breece Hall, was the leading rusher in FBS last year, and Kennedy Brooks is doing some big thing. But I don't think any of them right now have an argument over Bijan Robinson. And I know the O-line has some struggles with sacks. They allowed 3 against the Raging Cajuns, but they did an outstanding job in the run blocking aspect of the game. That must continue this weekend because if Arkansas puts this game strictly on Hudson Card, things are going to get interesting and very, very tight for Texas because that secondary for Arkansas showed in the second half last week. They have some playmakers and they're a stout team, and they showed it at times last year absolutely picking apart Jawan Mathis and Stetson Bennett at times in week 1 against Georgia last year. So this team is not a pushover on the defensive side of the ball. You have to be able to establish the run, get the ball to Bijan Robinson, let him go make plays. And now for me, I love what this offensive line did. I mean, it's anchored by some experienced guys. You got Denzel Okafor, I believe it's Junior and Galu, and also Derek Kerstetter at the tackle spot. Senior, junior, and senior. All these guys have multiple starts under their belts, and they have right now the way they're run blocking, and if they can just shore up their pass blocking a little bit, I think they can make an argument for one of the best O-lines in the Big 12, and that's going to go a long way for Hudson Card to, I guess, keep improving his game and really establishing himself as the top quarterback in this conference. Now, a secondary key to this game, just want to mention it before I move on, is to keep Hudson Card clean, especially in his first road start in a hostile environment against a sold-out Arkansas, in this Arkansas stadium. You are going up against a very experienced and talented front seven for the Razorbacks. I know it was only 3 sacks last week. You can't have him under pressure. You can't get him hit a lot because that internal clock's going to start ticking. And if he escapes clean pockets and he's rushing passes and he's sailing them, the Texas offense is going to become very inefficient, out of rhythm. And so you want to keep Hudson Card exactly in the spot he was last week, where you counted on Bijan to get your yards on the ground. Hudson Card was able to play within the offense. He was efficient, he was confident, and he was calm under pressure and calm in the pocket. You want to keep that this weekend. So keeping him clean is a secondary key for the Longhorns to get the win this weekend. Now, he played well in week 1. I understand, but I want to see how Card is going to respond in his first road start against maybe a better defense than he faced last week. I guess that's up for debate, but for me, I think this Razorback defense is very underrated. He put up a great game against Rice, but you saw what the Razorbacks did to Wiley Green at Rice in the second half. 3 picks. They held him to an extremely low QBR, but 224 and 2 touchdowns, no turnovers for Card last week. He's got to replicate that. Bijan is the focal point, and if Card is able to play off the play action, utilize his weapons on the outside while everyone's focusing on Bijan, the Longhorns are going to be a very tough team to beat this weekend. And so that is the key for the Longhorns. And for Arkansas, it's so simple. And this is probably, the game plan that some fans saw coming. Others would be like, man, I don't know, but this is what I trust. If you're in a game like this where you're an underdog and you need a big win, 1, protect the ball, limit your turnovers. If you don't turn the ball over, you got a chance. 2, let everyone see why KJ Jefferson has all the hype he does in Fayetteville. Let him utilize his skill set and go out there and make plays. They need to open up the playbook. They need to let KJ Jefferson go for broke this weekend, in my opinion. He's one of the most he brings one of the most versatile skill sets that I think the Razorbacks have had in a long time at the quarterback position. The Raging Cajuns, to me, failed to capitalize on Levi Lewis's athleticism. The Razorbacks have to give him the keys and let him go win this game. He has that type of potential, and I felt like there was times, especially in the first half against Rice, where they only gave him like a quarter of the playbook. It was like giving him a Ferrari, but only letting him get to like second gear. Open up the playbook. You have the talent. You have the experience. You're playing at home. And in this game, in this type of game against a very talented Texas team, it's a top 15 team in the country, go ahead and let your athletes go make plays. You recruit him there for a reason. He's QB1 for a reason. Let him go ball out. He's 6'4", almost 250 with 4.6 speed, and he can be a game wrecker if you let him get his rhythm and let him establish himself in the offense like you did in the second half, where he hits a big touchdown pass. The next play takes off up the middle, gets to the end zone. When he gets rolling, he's almost impossible to stop at the quarterback spot. The Razorbacks cannot afford to play this game conservatively. Go let your quarterback, who threw for almost 10,000 yards, 3,000 yards rushing out of high school, let him utilize all that potential and let him win this game for you. He is the key to the game. KJ Jefferson has to be the quarterback Arkansas fans think he can be. That is the whole key, and that's what's going to win this game. And when you look on the outside, he has all the weapons. His top 5 receiving targets in the offense are all upperclassmen with a lot of experience, and they all possess the ability to go make plays in space and win one-on-one matchups. Davion Warren, Traylon Burks, Tyson Morris, Trey Knox, Blake Kern at tight end. All of these guys have the experience, and the moment's not going to be too big for them. Let them go out and make plays. KJ Jefferson has the arm. He has the confidence. He has the athleticism. You have what it takes to go make this a game against Texas. Open up the playbook, let it fly, and let KJ Jefferson and all the weapons you surrounded him with go win you this game. That's what you put this team together for. It's not time to be shy. Open up the playbook and let it fly. And yes, Traylon Smith at running back can do his thing in the run game. You cannot risk playing this too conservatively because this Texas offense with Steve Sarkisian is too creative and has a weapon in Bijan Robinson that's too good for you to shut them down completely. You're going to have to score, and you're going to have to put pressure on this Texas team to put the ball in the air and force Hudson Card to beat you. That is what you're going to have to do. So you're going to have to put some points on the board. You're in a friendly environment. If there's any time that KJ Jefferson should be able to let it fly and be given the full keys to this offense, is this week when you have nothing to lose and you got a huge game in non-conference that can set your program up moving forward and give you all the confidence in the world. It'd be a huge recruiting statement. And I promise you, if you're Sam Pittman, this is one of those legacy-defining wins as a coach where, in a few years, people are looking back like, man, do you remember when he beat that top 15 Texas team and they did this, this, and this? That's the type of game this is. And for me, the matchup, that's why I'll move to my matchup to watch, because that kind of ties into this. The matchup to watch to me, and this is why I say you have to open up the playbook, is because when you force Hudson Card to play, your secondary versus the Texas wide receiving unit is so important, because I think you have the athletes to give them a run for their money. Now, if the Razorbacks can force turnovers in this matchup and make the Longhorns one-dimensional, then this game gets extremely, extremely interesting, and it's going to be hard to predict who comes out with the win. So that's why you want to open it up. You want your best against their best, and you want to put them in an uncomfortable spot, because for Texas, all you want to do is say, okay, we can just run the ball, Bijan Robinson, chew the clock. We have no pressure. Let's just keep churning it out. You want to be like, man, we're going to get them down in a hole early. You're going to put pressure on them to keep scoring because they know you can score. You want to make this game almost kind of a shootout game and let KJ Jefferson go make the plays you recruited him for. And, when I look at this matchup, though, Arkansas's DBs versus Texas wide receivers, the Longhorns, for me, had a huge star emerge last week. Jordan Whittington played absolutely outstanding. He exploded, 7 catches, over 110 yards receiving, and a touchdown. But I want to see number 2, number 3 targets play a little bit better. They got to emerge for Card and this passing offense in this matchup. Joshua Moore, 3 catches, but he wasn't very efficient moving the ball. I think he only had like 17 yards. And also Xavier Worthy flashed on his 1 catch. I believe it was like over a 30-yard completion, but he only had 1 catch. Worthy and Moore have to be bigger factors in this passing game. It can't just be on Whittington and Robinson alone, because Arkansas is going to key on that and take it away. You need to have options on the outside, get all your playmakers involved, and have multiple people be your playmakers this weekend, because you're going to need all of them to come out with this huge non-conference road win. And for the Razorbacks in the secondary, they played lights out in the second half last week. And if they can bring that energy and execution from kickoff this week, it's going to be a problem for the Longhorns. And they're loaded with experience, but I love this kid, Jalen Catalon at safety. He's one of the best secondary players in the country. 2 huge interceptions last week, and I expect him to be an X factor this week. He's an SEC All-American last year. The kid is so talented. And if Jalen's rolling, this Arkansas secondary is going to be clicking, and it's going to be an interesting matchup for those Texas playmakers on the outside. But Ladarius Bishop and Montarik Brown are the 2 corners. They're going to be tasked with shutting down Moore, Whittington, and all those guys. But for me, an X factor in the secondary is Greg Greg Brooks Jr. at the nickel spot. I think he's going to be tasked with kind of paying attention when Bijan gets out the slot, when he comes out the backfield. He's probably going to be tasked with stopping Bijan Robinson in the passing game. If he succeeds at that, it really takes a huge, I guess, factor out of what Sarkisian likes to do with his running backs out the backfield. But if he can't, and Robinson's exploding, and not just in terms of rushing, but also he becomes a huge receiving threat like he was last week, the Razorbacks are going to have a very tough time winning this game. So for me, that's a key. Brooks versus Bijan Robinson is probably the matchup within a matchup that I'm most interested to see. And so with all this, man, I think this is going to be such a close game. I think the spread is about perfect of what it is, about a 7-point game. In a road environment, I think it's going to be tough on Card. I think we're going to see them make a few more mistakes than we did last week. But for me right now, just given Bijan Robinson, I don't know if Arkansas can do enough to shut them down completely. And for me, I expect both quarterbacks to make some mistakes, because we saw Jefferson is prone to some mistakes if he's not in his rhythm. So for me, I really think Texas pulls this one out in a close one. I could see this being a tie game going into the fourth, but I just think Bijan Robinson and that offense can probably make a play late to pull it out. I expect this to be a raucous environment, and I expect it to be a very close game. But right now, I have Texas 30, Arkansas 23. So I got the Longhorns by 7, man. Longhorns 30, Razorbacks 23. That's my prediction. But guys, subscribe now. Comment your score predictions below. Stop right now before you leave. Comment your thoughts on the game. Comment your score predictions and let me know what you think about this matchup. But right now, man, Longhorns 30, Razorbacks 23 right here on the Bluebloods. We'll be back with a preview, a recap this weekend after this game is over, man. I'm so excited for this matchup. But guys, like I said, subscribe. Let's hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, man. And I would love to have y'all here as we drop all this college football content in these next few months. But also, guys, make sure to tune into some of our other week 2 content. We had 2 previews yesterday. We got 3 today and 4 tomorrow. So we got all these games being previewed right here on the Bluebloods. But guys, for right now, we are out.